Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome to Mental Health Talk with yours truly. I am Christina McIntyre. I am coming live from my apartment due to some stuff that happened in January. So, I still want to bring y'all information and stay relevant and encourage people to reach out if you are dealing with some issues, especially with mental health. I offer a holistic approach to mental health dealing with the chakra system. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can always message me and I'll be more than happy to help you on your journey towards self-discovery. Also, you can follow my YouTube page, BYC Become Your C. All my podcasts are on there, so if you're looking for something, most likely probably talked about it, you can just go through my videos. Make sure you subscribe and share. Also, you can follow me on TikTok at Become Your C, Instagram at Become Your C, Facebook BYC Become Your C. I do have a website. It's www.becomeyourc.com. It may be going through some changes, so if you can't access that right now, it should be up and running soon. I want to let people know that it's important to reach out if you need help. Mental health is a serious illness. Mental health disorders, they're serious. 1 in 5 people suffer from mental health disorders each year. If you are having some challenging thoughts, if you feel like you're alone, if you need to reach out, you can always call the suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255, or you can visit them on suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And that is going to get me into today's topic. I wanted to talk about suicide because it seemed like a lot of people were seeing a lot more of this. And from someone that dealt with some thoughts when I was younger, I can definitely relate to what's going on. So it's important to understand that having mental illness is not something that we can control. I think a lot of times people look at people that suffer and tell them to just get over it, or other people have it as bad, or why don't you just do something about it? When I tell you that we sufferers try, we find ways to combat it, it's like having a never-ending cycle of torture that you cannot see, right? It's internal. You can't see it. And I think that's why a lot of people don't, people respect it, but don't see it as a big issue as much as because it's something that you can't see. But a lot of us are suffering internally. And what happens is when we suffer and we feel like we're alone and we feel like we're isolated and there's no way out, this is when suicide comes to play. And it's unfortunate that so many people die by suicide because they feel there is no way out and they feel overwhelmed. And they feel like that is the only solution. And when I say I can relate, because I've had those feelings as well, especially growing up when I was younger, I never went through with the attempt, but I wrote a note. I cut myself a couple times when I was younger, and even as an adult, some years I had those thoughts, and it's because life can get overwhelming sometimes. And when things start happening all at once, you try and you figure like there's no way out, and you feel like maybe this is the only solution to end all the trouble and all the pain. And that's how people that is in that mindset, they feel like if they take themselves out of the equation, the issues will go away. And people think, because people look happy on the outside and they're smiling, that everything's okay. Most of us are dealing with so much that we don't let other people know. We have to put on a face in order for everything to look like it's normal. And a lot of the people that wind up committing suicide, you would think that everything is okay. Oh, why did they do this? They should have let people know. People give clues to what's going on, I think a lot of times we don't listen and we don't hear. And some people do keep everything bottled up. You never know what someone is going through unless you reach out to them and have a conversation. And it's important for us, if we have family members or friends that we haven't heard from in a while, to just reach out and see how they are. A lot of times people don't want to commit suicide. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel loved. They want to know that someone has their back, and they don't feel like that. People say they have your back, and they say they want you, and they say they love you, but at the end of the day, you still feel alone. I'm going to throw some statistics out here, and then we're just going to keep talking about the suicide. So, this is based on 2019 facts over a course of 20 years. Suicide definition. Hey Tyrone. Suicide by definition is death caused by an injury. Excuse me. Suicide definition is death caused by injuring oneself with the intent to die. So yes, suicide is when you try to harm yourself and you want to unalive yourself because you no longer want to be here. And men are more likely to commit suicide than women. And here are some facts. Men are 3.63 times more likely than women to commit suicide. Men account for 69.38% of the suicide attempts. And 50.39% are those used by firearms. 22.4 men and 6.0 women per 100,000 commit suicide. So yes, firearms is probably one of the most things you hear about. People also do hanging. People also overdose. And lethal injection. There's so many different ways that people can commit suicide. You see every now and then people run out into traffic or on a train. They jump over bridges. They intentionally cause car crashes with the intent to die. And it's unfortunate that people feel this way. Suicide rates increased 33% over the last 20 years, and it's going up. So this is an alarming rate, and we need to do something about it. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. It's 47,500, which is one death every 11 minutes caused by suicide. So in a day, let me do this quickly. In a day, so we have 24 hours. So roughly 6 people per hour. Let's say 5.5, but 6. 6 people per hour. That is for 144 people a day commit suicide in the United States. People will be like, oh, that's not a lot. We have so many people. One suicide death is one too many. 12 million Americans thought about suicide. 3.5 million planned a suicide attempt, and 1.4 million attempted. White people and Native American and Alaskans have a higher rate of committing suicide, and young, gay, lesbian, and bisexual people have a higher rate of suicide. And things to consider: suicide attempts can have long-term effects, such as injuries, right? So let's say someone did attempt to hang themselves or a car crash, take a whole bunch of pills, and they lived through that. They may have caused more damage to themselves, like they could have brain injury, right? Now they're in a vegetative state. Or they are paralyzed for the rest of their life because of a suicide attempt. Or they shatter bones and now, paralyzed and can't walk. So there's a lot of other factors that consider when people do commit a suicide. Like, yes, some follow through and it goes through, but also some people don't make it through, and people can reattempt as well. Especially if the first one didn't go through. And it's important to pay attention to those people that's talking about it, and also that's not talking about it. Some people won't talk about suicide because then they'll look at it as crazy. They don't want to get 302'd. So they don't share anyone their thoughts because they don't want to get judged for having those thoughts. And it's hard when we live in a judgmental world and we feel sad. Like, it's a shame that we can't have moments of sadness or anger. People think that is something wrong with us. Now, people that commit suicide, 9 times out of 10 also have other mental health issues as well, such as depression and anxiety, schizophrenic, bipolar, and it contributes to that. And a lot of factors contribute to why people want to commit suicide. A lot of people that have been abused, especially in childhood, tend to commit suicide. They've been bullied, or they've been sexually molested or raped. They commit suicide. And also, some people commit suicide when the pressures of life just get on them. Let's say you're working at a job, you're so used to living this type of lifestyle, and then everything crashes down, everything taken away from you. Your financial needs is taken up from under you. Let's say you're married and you wind up getting divorced. Kids, a whole bunch of things can factor in why people commit suicide. And I think if we learn to understand it, not saying that it's okay for people to commit suicide. It's not. I want people to be here as long as they can, right? I believe we all have purpose and we all have gifts. And the only way for the world to see if we're here. But I do understand the pain behind using that as a last attempt to feel some type of peace. You don't never understand what someone's going through just because they have a pretty face or they smiling in your face. A lot of people cry behind closed doors because that's how they feel. Like, they feel like the world is on their shoulders and they keep crumbling down. Again, it's important to do check-ins with people. For me, with the spaces that I was in, wasn't good space. I've been dealing with depression and anxiety and panic mostly all my life, and at some points where I felt like that was an option. When I did, some people write a note. I wrote a note. I was like 12 years old, and I was getting bullied, and I felt isolated and alone, and I thought cutting myself would be okay. And just wanted someone to like pay attention to say, hey, like, I'm suffering. So, of course, my aunt that I was living with at the time, she found out and she asked me what was wrong. But people sometimes, like, let's say you write a note and you tell someone, and sometimes they want to keep it hush-hush because, again, like, depending on your ethnicity and your background, right? And the Black community is still looked down upon of people that suffer from mental health issues, right? Like, it's a other cultural thing. And so a lot of Black people don't reach out to get the help they need. They don't talk to people because they feel like people going to look at them crazy. And if they're having some type of thoughts, people are going to just bypass it like it doesn't even matter. And so they tend to keep all this pain to themselves. And again, when we suffer, we don't want to burden people with our issues. So a lot of times we tend to keep it to ourselves. But what happens if you don't have a release and it stays inside, it gets bottled up, and then those thoughts come. And when I tell you, the negative thoughts, they don't stop. And they spiral out of control. And it gets to the point where it gets so overwhelming, you feel like you're losing your mind. And then this is why people commit suicide, because those thoughts overtook everything. No matter how much positive affirmations or positive stands or anything people were telling us, oh, you must do this, you got to do that. At the end of the day, you're not that person that's stuck right in the head. Like, you're not in their mind. And we can't sometimes control those thoughts, especially when they start getting out of control. And it's important that we understand that it's the individual that feels like this is nothing on their family or friends. And I think a lot of times family and friends feel hurt, be like, oh, well, they should have thought about their family, their friends if they have children, but they're the ones suffering. Granted, I guarantee you they probably did think about their family, friends, and children, and they thought they would be better off without them, right? When you're in that mindset, it's hard to pull out. Not that it's impossible, because people, let's say they attempted and didn't go through, they do get the help that they need, and eventually they turned out better. I read an article last year about this guy that jumped off the bridge and wound up luckily surviving, and then he, thank God that he didn't, that attempt didn't go through. But it's important to understand that when people decide to commit suicide, it's not because there aren't other options. That's because they feel like that's their only option. They just want the pain to go away. It's like, let's say you have a body illness and you're taking medication and it's not going away. So you're going to do whatever you can to make that pain go away, right? Let's say drinking alcohol. It may alleviate the pain temporarily, but you're going to do it, or smoking, or doing whatever you got to do to take away that pain. So when people commit suicide, that's what they're doing. They feel like if they do this, it's going to take away their pain. And whether we believe in the afterlife or not, for them, maybe it's something better for them on the other side. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying I know how it feels to be that low, that that's your only option out. And what we need to do, I think we need to be more aware and we need to listen. If you have family or friends that you haven't heard from for a while, or you noticing that they're posting like final thoughts, you need to check in on them. Or you need to check on like elderly too, middle age. The suicide rate in the elderly is high too, because a lot of times, let's say they're in nursing homes or they're older, they feel isolated and they feel like they're a burden, so they attempt suicide as well. Check in on people more often than not. I think a lot of times we're selfish. We only worry about ourselves, but we have no idea what people are going through. But I think we judge so much when people make decisions that's best for them. And judgments can hurt people. And I know people like, oh, you have to be strong. Yes, we want to be the best person that we can be. We want to be strong. We want to be courageous. We want to be all of that. But at the end of the day, when you suffer from mental health disorders, it's not as easy as it seems. Every day is different, right? Some days you're going to feel like you can get through it. And some days you got to push just a little bit harder. And when those days that you have to keep pushing hard and hard, they seem like it's never ending, those thoughts take over. And once those thoughts take over and they feed into your cell, there's really, I'm not going to say there's nothing that you can do. It's hard to pull yourself out of that. Not impossible, but hard. I've been depressed. I go through bouts of depression every now and then. I get in my space and I pull myself out because I know that I have like purpose and I have a gift, even if I don't know exactly what that means yet. And I have a son and I know I got people around me, but I don't know what life is going to look like, years from now. I don't know, people don't know that last straw of why people attempting. Like, we don't know what's going to push us over the edge. So we can't judge people for a decision that they make. The only thing that we can do is provide the tools and the information. And you could want something for somebody so bad, but they have to want it for themselves. And unfortunately, when people commit suicide, it's nothing against you. They need to do something for themselves to make the pain go away. And it's sad when that is the result when the thoughts take over our mind and we lose control and we don't see no way out. And I'm going to get some information. So it's a tough subject to talk about because I've been there like on more than one occasion. And I know what it feels like to be that low and trying to pull yourself out. And not having support, or you feel like you're alone and isolated, especially during the pandemic. People were committing suicide because they felt alone and isolated. So that's why I said it's important to check in. It's important to reach out. Get out. When I'm feeling low sometimes, I just get out and I take a walk, right? For me, a cup of coffee is good to go. Some chocolate is good to go. And try to do something to make myself better. Each day is not the same. And when you struggle with mental health issues, you have to fight every day. And that can get hard. It's hard to sit there and fight every day against the thinking in your head. It's not impossible, it's just hard. It's like you're battling yourself. You're trying to tell yourself everything's going to be okay. And that's why it's important to just keep trying, even with a little ounce. Just keep trying. But don't judge people either. Don't judge people for a decision they make that's best for themselves. Even though it may hurt us, you have to look at how it would feel to live in their shoes. And we can't imagine what it feels like to live in someone else's shoes. So how can we judge them for something they choose to do, even though we think it's towards us, but it has nothing to do with us. It has something to do with how they feel on the inside. So suicide, again, doesn't just affect us. It affects families as well. When people commit suicide, it does affect the family and friend they leave behind, especially when it goes through, or let's say they do an attempt, but the attempt doesn't work, and now they're paralyzed and brain dead, and all these factors that can rule in. So the one thing that people are urging people to do is, let's make a prevention. How can we prevent this? Again, by reaching out to those that we know that may be on that high risk. And you know people that's on high risk, that's maybe sad all the time or isolated stuff, reach out to them. Prevention is also providing resources, right? Again, suicide hotline, if you are feeling down and out, is 1-800-273-8255, suicidepreventionlifeline.org. They have resources. We have to strengthen our support system. If you know someone is alone and isolated, please reach out to them. I know it's crazy. During this pandemic thing, it definitely separated a lot of people, but just make an effort. Like I'm telling everybody, myself, you, whoever's watching, like we are suffering, but we also can do our part. I know for me, when I'm feeling down sometimes, if I do for other people, it kind of makes me feel better and takes my mind off of what I'm going through. So try to do that. Have a plan. Get community-based organizations. Some communities don't even have the support that is needed for these people in the community. Let's say the access is an hour away. They don't have the financial means or a way to get the help that they need. And so they continue to suffer in silence. So we need to expand the resources that's available in each community. Teach coping skills. And this takes some practice, and this is hard. It's a fight every day to stay on level, right? To stay above water, our head above water. So coping skills may mean you need to, like, let's say you use religion as a way to heal. Go to church, join some groups, seek out therapy. Make sure you attend your therapy sessions every day. If you're on medication, make sure you take it at designated times. My approach, the holistic approach, is difficult as well because you have to work internally just like anything else. You got to work internally, figure out what's going on with your body, why you're having these thoughts, and figure out where they come from. A lot of times the suffering that we suffer from is from our childhood trauma. And I've just been learning about this over the last few months. Like, everything that we are is a result of our childhood most of the time, and we suffer from those things that wasn't dealt with in our childhood, some things that we lacked or we did have that affected us, and now we have to go through with it, and it can be overwhelming and it can turn negative at times. That's the holistic approach, healing within to manifest without. Identify the at-risk people. Again, you know those people, they're speaking negatively, they're writing negatively, or maybe they're not doing either. They put a smile on their face. Those people that seem overly happy, you want to check in on them as well. Especially if you're a person that gives and always doing for others, like, someone needs to check on that person because they're feeling like they're giving their all and they're not getting anything back in return. That can lead up into a suicide attempt. Prevention and report. If you know someone that's suffering or talking about harming themselves, they say report it, because you can save a life. You can prevent, the worst case scenario from happening. But we got to do our part, and also those that are suffering internally, we have to do our part as well. I try my hardest every day to find some peace in every day. And I don't know what every day is going to seem like. We don't know what every day is going to seem like. We get up and we navigate through the day, but we don't know how the day is going to turn. And for me right now, I feel like it's a transformation period. And the way that I approach things dealing with the holistic and the chakras is that I'm dealing with a lot of stuff that's coming up from undealt with trauma, from childhood, from teenage years, from young adults, from, so minds come up all at once. And it's hard when it comes up all at once. So now you got to deal with it. You got to figure out who you are, why you're suffering, and what to go do about that. So for me, I just deal with each day as it comes. I'm not saying I don't plan. I do plan, because I have to have some type of schedule where everything will be all over the place. But for now, I say what I'm going to do for that day, and I'm going to compensate with that day. And I'm not going to put nothing more on me than I can handle. And I think a lot of times people decide to commit suicide because they feel like the world is on their shoulders. They feel like they gotta people please. They feel like judgments, and they feel like they don't fit in. And I feel like that sometimes too. But as long as I have breath, I'm gonna try every day to fight. Even if I don't know what that day looks like. So I started doing things a little different. I wake up earlier now, and I meditate, and I write how I feel. And I just tell myself, like, even if I'm feeling down, I'm going to get through this day. Even if I'm feeling down, I'm going to do this. Like, for me, I have to, during those down periods, I got to be doing something. Because when you're not doing something, those thoughts can overtake you. And my aunt always told me this: an idle mind is a devil's playground. And if you believe in spirituality or not, I believe that so wholeheartedly. When you're not, well, you're supposed to relax, but when you suffer from mental health issues and you're relaxing too often, those negative thoughts can overtake you, and then you'll start feeling sad and depressed, and you know why. But then you also got to be careful who you allow in your circle and who you are connecting yourself with. Those negative energies can jump. I believe in spirits. I believe in the negative energies, which is spirits. They can jump, they can attach to you, and you may be feeling down and out because of the people you surrounding yourself with. So sometimes you have to change your circle. And sometimes it can be you, but sometimes it could be the people around you. So this is why it's important that I tell people to do self-reflection daily, because then you have a chance to connect with yourself and ask yourself, what could I do better for this day, or how can I be better? And we don't need to be anybody but ourselves, and I think that's important. Like, I felt like I had to be perfect all my life because it's kind of how I was brought up. And now I'm trying to unravel that as an adult. The pain that we don't deal with as a child, we're going to have to deal with that as an adult. It's going to come to surface. And I think it's important to listen to your children. I think it's important to try to be the best parent you can be. But the way that we mold our children sometimes affects of how they feel and how they're brought up. And so now we got to deal with these issues as an adult. But it's possible. You just got to be consistent and also do things that can kind of help alleviate the pain. Like, I exercise every day. When I'm exercising, I tend to worry about stuff, right? I started baking like crazy the last couple weeks because it takes my mind off of stuff. I don't know how the day is going to transpire, but I do know that I owe it to myself to keep fighting every day, whatever that looks like. Today may not look like tomorrow, right? Tomorrow I may be in a way better mood than today, but I know whatever I have to do today, I'm going to get it done to try to combat these negative thoughts. So I say that to say this is that when people commit suicide, it's never about you. It's about them. It's an internal conflict that they're having, and life became so overwhelming that they decided that was their last straw. So let's not judge people for using that as an option. I don't want people to do that as an option. I want people here as long as they need to be, right? Like, I believe that we're here for a time period. So I want people here to live out their purpose and figure out who they are on their journey. But I do understand that life can become overwhelming, and that because of how this world is, some people feel like they will never fit in. And we got a lot of celebrities that committed suicide as well. So it's not just a us thing, it's a worldwide thing. And the more that we understand it, maybe we can figure out a plan to help before it gets to this point. But again, mental illness is real, and it's a fight every day for your life. You have to fight every day for survival, and it can be tiring. It's exhausting, and it can overwhelm you, and you just feel like F it sometimes. I don't know if I can curse on here, but definitely reach out. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. You can visit them at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. If you are feeling down and out, depressed, sad, suicide, attempt, anything, please call them and reach out. If you need to learn about a holistic approach to mental health, you can always reach out to me as well. I want you here. You need to be here. You got purpose. And I think it's important that you understand that. Like, I know life is heavy. I know it can seem overwhelming. I know things get you down. I know you feel isolated and alone. I'm right there with you. If I could tell you some of the thoughts I have, you will understand. But I know that we weren't put here for no reason, that everybody was designed uniquely for a reason. And I wish that people saw that. I wish people didn't judge as much. I wish people were more authentic and had good intent, but that's just not how the world is. And I think a lot of us that do suffer, we're more givers and we're more people pleasers, and that's why we suffer so much. So I'll send y'all off with this. Make sure that you take time for yourself every day, at least 10 minutes. And do some self-reflection. For me, during those so down periods, I turn on my gospel music and I just cry. And I think it's important to be able to show your emotions. I think sometimes people think we can't cry or we can't be affectionate or reach out. People judge us for that. Like, nobody is strong forever. Nobody is strong. I think a lot of times we're taught, like I know I was taught to just suck it up and hold it in. You can't do that, because what happens when you hold things in too long, they explode. And once things start to explode, there's no stopping it. So let's not tell people they can't feel how they feel, they can't cry, they can't reach out, they can't feel down sometimes. Let people be able to express themselves, and maybe by doing so, we can save a life. Let people be them. Let them live their life without judgment, so that they can live in this life in the reality that they choose to live in. Let people be free, and let people be who they are meant to be, and not some ideal image of how we think they ought to be, right? So I think 12:30ish, 1 o'clock, I'll be doing these again. If you're interested, please message me if you need to talk. Also, don't forget to follow me on YouTube and subscribe. BYC Become Your C. At TikTok, Become Your C. Instagram, at Become Your C. Facebook, BYC Become Your C. I'm trying to still find a good time to come on until things change for me. But I want you to know that you're important and you matter, and you deserve to be here, and you deserve to keep fighting, and that you shouldn't give up on yourself. I think you need to know that you were created to be you, because that's who God designed you to be. And you shouldn't be ashamed, and you shouldn't have to constantly fight people to prove that you're worth it and you're valuable, because you are. So fall in love with yourself so the world can fall in love with you. Until next time.